back, ladies and gentlemen, to Little Nightmares. I'm your host, Danny, and I've got Kenshi back with me. And as I promised at the end of the last video, we've completed the main game, and now it's time to dive into some DLC. But before I dive into the DLC, I feel like just showing off, because off-screen, I actually did manage to find all the statues and all the gnomes. So, yep, so cool. When you go to the chapter select, if you zoom in, you get this nice little image of each chapter. You can zoom around, take a good look. And another interesting little feature, each gnome that you find, a gnome will pop up in this screen. So, like, you know, if we had done this before...
Yeah, I was starting to notice all the gnomes.
They don't... at least, I don't think they show off the statues, because I don't see them anywhere. But as far as the gnomes go, yeah.
Well, you are smashing them.
But, yep, so, just a nice little thing. So, down here is where we can access the DLC. The DLC right now, there are going to be 3 planned episodes, and at least at the time of this recording, which is in the middle of August, roughly, we only have the first episode, and it is called In the Depths. Now, In the Depths, this is a separate story. This is a different kid, so we're not following Six. As far as I'm aware of, this kid doesn't have a name. He's just known as the Runaway Kid. But the Runaway Kid story actually happens, like, in parallel with Six's.
Alright.
Yeah,
that
so
makes sense.
I tried to see if I could maybe show him off, like, in the light and everything, but it's kind of hard and everything, and it's like...
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where it's like... At first it was kind of weird, because I'm like, where is the story going? Because, I mean, like, as you see here, again, kind of hard to see, but the janitor, yeah, he's chasing after some random kid that's managed to escape. But you'll see throughout this DLC that there will be points where it's like, okay, you know, where do the stories intersect and everything. Alright, so, right now we're just kind of doing a little bit of backtracking. So, yeah, you know, this first part is going to be very familiar because, you know, we've gone through this area before with Six. So, you know, familiar territory nonetheless. Now, here's actually an interesting thing. Like, honestly, when I first played this, I didn't notice this, but it wasn't until after I recorded this and was working on the raws and everything that I could only hear this with the headphones on and everything. When the janitor was picking up that kid, like a couple of seconds ago, you can actually faintly hear the kid. Like, you can hear the kid, like, you know, panting, probably even crying that it got caught. So it's like, oh, damn. So yeah, if you remember when we crossed this area the first time, there was like a bed or something that was turned up that was like a hiding spot for Six, and there were a couple of like petrified kids here. So the fact that they aren't here, so Six hasn't come through here yet. So right now, this is before the journey at the beginning of the game.
Well, that makes sense, given the fact that the janitor still has his arms, too.
Yeah, and like, yep, so... Right now, we can only run... We don't have a light source yet. You know, but... So, it's like, you know, I do apologize if, like, you know, the screen's all dark and everything, and you can't see everything clearly. I mean, I am... yeah, you are in the dark at this point.
Well, that makes sense. This is a new story, so we don't even have the first episode to show anything. There's not a whole lot to it.
Now, this is... I don't know, I can't be the only one to have made this connection, but if you, like, Google, like, In the Depths and everything, I swear this kid reminds me of Frisk, like, with his design and everything. It's like, you know, short brown hair, blue shirt, pants. I'm like, my god, this is Frisk from Undertale.
Maybe this is why Frisk climbed Mount Eva in the first place. They escaped the Maw and jumped down into the mountain, because God knows that place is probably safer.
Okay, so In the Depths here...
yeah, the only thing missing is the stripes.
So In the Depths, our collectible here, it is known as Flotsam. So, if you find these random little bottles and everything and collect them, that's our collectible. And I feel like being a little shit. But, Yeah, there are 5 pieces of flotsam in this first episode of the DLC. So I think I managed to collect like 3 of them during this recording, but I will say this, that I was like, after I had recorded and everything, I did play through this again, and I did manage to find and get a hold of all 5 pieces, so I did get them off screen.
Ah. Yeah. Okay, good.
Now here's actually a theory that I'm seeing a lot of people throwing this around, and I'm not quite sure if I agree with it or not. So you saw this girl that was just running around, and she threw, the rope down and everything, which, of course it explains why the rope was there in the first place, because again, we're backtracking, from where 6 was going and everything. A lot of people I've seen throw around this idea that girl that was there just now that threw the rope down, that was 6. Like, this was 6, she managed to escape, and she's just kind of hiding and everything until, the beginning of the game where she does actually plan her escape. I'm not 100%, I don't know if I can really follow with that theory or not. Because for one thing, where is she getting her raincoat from? And two, if you actually look at the design of the character, I mean, if you compare that, if you remember during the game, like in the second level, you remember, Kenshi, where you saw like the janitors picking up the bodies of the dead kids, wrapping them in paper, and putting them on butcher hooks?
Yeah.
That's literally the same character design of these kids and everything, just some random blackened silhouette. So I'm not entirely convinced that girl is supposed to be 6, that this is just some random kid. And
they seem too tall, from my perspective, to be 6.
Right.
Like, 6 seemed even shorter than most of the other kids that we did see, and the character we just saw seems to be a bit taller than you, and you seem to be roughly the same size as 6. Actually, I think you are a little bit taller than 6, so it's like, if they're taller than you, and you're taller than 6, then they can't be 6, because 6 was fairly short by all standards here.
Right. And plus, now we've got the flashlight. So we got the flashlight that we were following the girl and everything. So we got her flashlight now, but now she's gone, and there was just a puddle of blood. So, again,
and given the fact that these things are giant leeches, that suggests that...
Yeah. I'm thinking the leeches got her, and, we just happened to pick up the flashlight. Thus, again, why I'm thinking this girl, I don't think she's 6. I think this is just some other random kid that managed to make it this far, but, unfortunately got killed by the leeches. 6 is still, chilling out in the suitcase.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you on that. I'm kind of on the same page as you, because people are naturally going to assume that, this random character we don't know much about must be this other character we do know, because why else would they be here? But it's like, there are tons of people that would have every reason to leave.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, like we see in 6's case, from seeing, like, the petrified kids and everything, it's like, yeah, she's not the only kid that tried to escape. So, anyway, theories aside, so now, obviously, this is pretty much the rest of this level. In the depths, basically, this is, Water Temple 2.0, if you can think of that. It's probably the best comparison, because there's a lot of water, a lot of swimming. We are going to be hitting a point fairly soon, actually, where we actually have to raise water levels and play around with it and everything. So, it's very reminiscent of the Water Temple, but it's, like, nowhere near as frustrating and annoying. Like, it's fairly straightforward.
So, kind of like Twilight Princess Water Temple, where it's mostly straightforward.
That's actually probably a better comparison. Because, again, when people think Water Temple, we always think back to Ocarina of Time, just because of, how frustrating that was.
It's pretty infamous, yeah.
But yeah, this one's pretty straightforward. So yeah, that's probably even an even better comparison is the Twilight Princess version.
Yeah, I mean, it's still not perfectly straightforward, but yeah, it's far more direct than the Ocarina of Time version.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you managed to catch this, Kenshi, but when we were in the room earlier, If you noticed, there's like some bubbles or something that were chasing after
Yes,
the runaway
I
kid.
did.
Alright, that is pretty much this level's enemy in this game. So, the enemy in this level, we don't really know all that much about her, but she is canonically speaking, her name is the Granny.
Okay, that's a weird name for something that's going around in the water.
Yeah, it's like, apparently, we've got this creepy old lady that is pretty much stalking us in the water. We really have no idea who or what she is. How is she able to survive the water and everything? But I mean, you know what? There was barely an explanation for why the geisha woman had all these weird freaking spoopy powers. So, and, so you know what? Underwater breathing granny, it's, par for the course, I suppose.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And hell, we don't even know what the janitor freaking is.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's where, pardon me. Yeah, so you'll see, especially here, you're going to be seeing, whenever you see the bubbles chasing you and everything, you have got to move fast. If the bubbles catch up to you, she will pull you under. You also don't want to stand on top of these, things for too long. If you stay, if I was to stay on that box, even though the bubbles come under, eventually, she will hit that box to push you off. And, so it's not like, oh, you're safe once you're out of the water. It's like, no, she will actually try to push you off like that and get you into the water. So, when you're in the water, you have got to move quickly.
Move fast, move swift.
Pretty much.
I remember a couple enemies like this from other horror games. Spooky's House of Jump Scares, I think, also has an enemy kind of like this.
Okay. I've heard about that game. I haven't tried it. There's a bunch of indie horror games that I admittedly haven't really tried. But honestly, I think it's because from what I've been seeing from Markiplier and Jacksepticeye, who've been playing a lot of those types of games, a lot of them, I mean, that's I can appreciate a good indie horror title. I mean, I appreciate the fuck out of this. I like me some Five Nights at Freddy's. I love me some Limbo. So, I mean, if you can make it good, man, kudos to you. But at the same time, it's just one of those things where it's a lot of them look, I guess, for lack of a better word, low budget.
Well,
I mean,
they are.
I know, but noticeably so. I mean, there's working with a low budget, but working with it well, and then there's being very cheap about it. I mean, I don't know if this is the right wording, but a lot
I
of
guess
them,
I guess I see what you mean, because
a lot of them don't really. They don't have the same level of polish and finesse like some of these other ones do.
Yeah, and it's I think I would recommend Spookies because it's kind of designed to feel like a B movie.
Okay.
It's very simple. It's got a almost cartoonish design for being a horror game.
Okay.
So.
Okay, so they're gonna drop. So some fish heads and shit are gonna be dropping through here. If you try bolting to the other end, the granny will eventually catch you.
Yeah.
So we are gonna use the fish to distract her.
Yeah, that makes sense. Chum the water, as it were.
Yeah. I think there's 2 or 3 instances where we have to do this. So that's where it's just throw the fish in, and she'll be distracted, and that will give you more than enough time to get across.
Yeah, because otherwise she's going to be sharking you.
Yeah, I mean, I have tried, and I mean, it's damn near impossible to be able to cross that without distracting her, so yeah. But anyway, back to Spoopy.
Yeah. It's a pretty simple game. I've watched Markiplier play it a lot. It's kind of, I think it's semi-randomly generated. I'm not entirely sure. Because I know some levels are the same, but there's also certain things that are specific area-based events. And then there's
Okay.
some enemies that are only on certain levels. So it's at least a game that
it's like work.
It's not exactly hype.
You.
Physics. Yeah. But it's like, it is a very simple game. I think you would enjoy playing it, Danny, because it adds a number of laughs to the whole horror thing. Because it does actually have a whole lot of elements that fit like a horror funhouse. But it's also, an actual, you are actually in danger at some points.
Right.
So it's like, it's one of those situations.
Okay.
Also, Spooky herself is just kind of silly.
Okay. Now here is where, I'm seeing, some people when they're trying to theorize with, In the Depths here, is what the hell's going on in this room? Because, we see some things, it was filled with water, but we see some things are tied down. So it's why exactly do we have furniture tied down and then, filled with water, complete with a grate that it can filter out and everything? So that's where I think I see, people are questioning, what is up with that room? Someone's got to be living in there, and that's where I think some people are thinking, well, maybe this is where the granny was before whatever the fuck happened, that now she's a water zombie.
Could be. She could have been, she could have been some kind of mer person. This is a very weird universe, so it's possible that all that tied down furniture is, for her to live on before she just became basically water shark.
Right. Well, you will actually see a really good look of, her whole body and everything, towards the end of the DLC. And
kind of figured.
Yeah, and I will say that she is very much human in design. So, that's I know that doesn't necessarily mean, I know whenever we think, merfolk, we always think the mermaid and everything, with the fishtail and everything, but it's you gotta remember also, it's merfolk, you think sirens. Sirens are, usually for the most part, they're depicted mostly human, and, merfolk and sirens, are interchangeable, give or take what lore you're following.
Yeah, then you have certain aquatic beings, like, say, the Zora, who are very physically human in silhouette, except for, extra bits from their fish-like parts. Yeah, so it's it's not that hard to imagine that she could very much be a very human-like fish creature,
Yeah. Yeah.
Or she could have been pure human at one point, but then she became capable of breathing underwater and needs to do that now.
Right, it's
because we have no idea what half of these creatures are, or if they were once human.
Right, and it's given the fact that we've seen with the geisha, hi there! But it's given with the geisha and everything, it's and a lot of people, I know we talked about the theories and stuff about the whole point with the geisha, how people are, comparing it, making this kind of some kind of a...
Snow White?
A throwback to Snow White and everything, which is sounds interesting and everything, but then you brought up a different perspective. So it's
what if the power is really the major driving force and not the actual people? Because for some reason, 6 took on the power that the woman had at the very end after she killed her. Why? What is this power? Is it transferable? Is it sentient? What is it? Why did she get this power from a woman that we have no idea if she's actually related to?
Right. He's hi there, Grandma. You just gotta try and swing out as far as you can and get out. You have no idea how tempted I was to throw Jaws music.
Yeah,
I was so... Because, occasionally we like to throw, random bits of music in here, just, make a joke, or if there's, a lot of silence and everything to try to, liven it up a little bit. But I ultimately decided against it because this is a horror game that we're dealing with, and atmosphere really does play a major part of the overall
and
horror
the Jaws
experience.
theme has long since lost its intended atmosphere, since it's become kind of a running joke that it's very easy to throw into these situations.
Yeah.
Because the dance music actually would be very fitting for this situation, but that's sort of the problem. It's kind of used for all those fitting situations, and has become kind of like one of the earliest forms of a meme.
Right. Like, I know, like, if this was, like, Ryan or BJ playing it and everything, they would throw random music in a heartbeat, for the lulls.
Yeah.
But I know, like, BJ doesn't really play a lot of horror games. I think Ryan's played a couple and everything, and, like, I like me a good horror game, so that's like, if I feel like, the atmosphere is good and everything, and that includes all the spoopy ambiance and everything, I want to keep it, for the audience to enjoy, even if it is just random ambience noise.
Indeed. And I hear you. I'm kind of like, I like the lore of games like this more than I enjoy playing them, because playing them can only get you so far. And once you've reached the point where it no longer scares you, trophy.
Yeah. Yep. I think. Yeah.
But I'm more of a theorizer. Like, I probably would never actually buy Little Nightmares myself, because I got very little to glean out of dodging all these monsters, because it's fairly linear horror game. And I find Minecraft hardcore mode a much more fun horror game than something like this, because at least then I actually can feel the tension of what I'm doing. In this game, I just have to do what the game is laying out for me. There's not a whole lot of solutions to it.
Right. That makes sense. That's understandable.
That's one reason why I do like Five Nights, because sure, it's more of a skill test than anything else.
Right. Oh god, this room annoys the hell out of me. It's like, oh god, this one's annoying, because it's like, I think if anything, this is the room that annoys me the most.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so the first thing you gotta do, you gotta grab the crank. So, let's just... Nope, no biggie. So then you gotta drain... So then we're gonna hit the little button there, and you gotta drain the water. So that'll allow us to pick up the crank, and you also have to situate that suitcase in, like, a perfect way, that we can actually, like, use it to cross and everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like there's a lot of setting up, there's a lot of running around, and then, the crank, it opens a door that, when you turn it and everything, it's basically, think of it as a timed door.
Oh dear.
So, I mean, it's like once it's fully cranked, you've got to bolt to get under the door before you, like, closes on your head. And it's like, this is where it's like, if you don't set up the suitcase right, it can fuck you over. And it's like, I can't tell you how many times, like, even with this recording, even after this, it's like, I go and try and set myself up, and then it's like, I get to it, and it's like, oh, not fast enough. Now I gotta go back, drain it again, reset it, fill the water back up, and do it again. Like, this is a frustrating room for me.
I could tell, because... And that's one of the reasons why I would never really play a game like this, because I would deal with a room like this, and I'd be done.
Yeah, like, this room alone, this is Ocarina of Time Water Temple right here.
Yeah, this is one of those things where you have to do this in this specific order, and it's so utterly, pointlessly frustrating in the process.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for a good puzzle and everything. I'm all, for some good platforming.
But the key word there is good.
Good, yeah. Fortunately, this is just one room. But, yeah, this is how... And you gotta slide under to make it. So, it's like... Fortunately, it's like in my opinion, that's the most frustrating room out of the bunch. So, it's like, okay, we don't have to fuck with that anymore.
Good.
Hi, Granny. She's just chilling in a seat, apparently.
Looks like a rocking chair.
Yeah, it's just kind of floating in the water.
Which actually kind of gives credence to the idea that she may have once been human and then suddenly had this ability to swim in water and kind of needs to be hydrated for the most part.
Something. It's like you gotta climb up, you gotta get on the hook. It's like, no, get away from me. There we go.
Finally. That buoy does not physics very well.
Nah. Alright, but yeah. Fortunately, we are near the end of this. Like, this is pretty much the last room.
Good, because this is...
And, yeah, this is where you're gonna start seeing, like, really get a good glimpse of the granny for who she is.
Ouch! Ooh.
Oh, barely made it. Yep.
Grab the switch.
There we go. Now this is where you gotta be pretty quick. Now the granny's gonna start fucking with your platforms.
You damn kids, get off my shit.
Yeah, she's like, get off of my pool. You know, it's like, you know, you damn kids, get off my pool. Now again, this is where you gotta be real quick here. Because if you dilly-dally, she will break this platform and you're dead. So you have got to just get on there and just start pushing the TV right away. And now she's done.
This place is losing its monsters pretty fast.
Yeah, it's like, oh, threat's over. It's like, yeah, death by TV.
Now, you know, some people do not understand that electricity and water do not mix.
Mm-hmm.
It's still happening to this day, apparently.
Yeah, really. But alright, we're finally out.
Alright.
Yep, so
at least until the DLC gives a name. Otherwise, I'm officially dubbing this kid 5.
5?
Well, think about it. Your story is very clearly taking place before 6's.
So it's like, oh, snaps.
Well.
Now this next scene should be familiar.
Oh, there's 6. Yeah. Numbers.
Yeah. Yep. So if you remember, yep, the kid that he drug off, that was the Runaway kid.
Oh boy. I wonder if you escaped.
Alright, so that is the first episode of the DLC. So, here's how the rest of the DLC is going to come out, as well as how we're going to handle this for the channel. So, right now, the second DLC episode is slated to come out in November. And then the third and final one is supposed to be coming out in January.
Uh-huh.
So we've still got a couple of months before we move on and everything. So, probably, you know, I will be keeping an eye on this. So, like, you know, probably the week that this comes out, I'm going to be buying the DLC and everything, and I'll be playing it, and then, you know, playing through it, recording it, and that's when we will come back. So, you know, hope you guys are enjoying Little Nightmares and everything, you know, so far, but, you know, we will be finishing this as the DLC comes along and everything, and at least as of right now, there's only 3 episodes of the DLC, and from what they've said, they all focus on the Runaway kid. All we know of, actually, of the next episode is, well, they pretty much already said the Runaway kid is going to escape. Somehow, we don't know. But he said that what we know is it looks like the Runaway kid is going to end up, like, in the engine room. and he's gonna end up with the gnomes. So in the next episode, for all we know, we may actually end up finding some information about these fucking gnomes.
Well, that'd be interesting, alright.
Yeah, hey, we may actually see what is the purpose of the gnomes. Like, because right now some people are theorizing, like, are these gnomes, like, are they, like, other, like, inhabitants of the ship? Are they workers of the ship? Were they perhaps the original workers of the ship before the geisha lady kind of corrupted things? Some people theorize that the gnomes are actually escaped kids that are just, disguising themselves. It's like, we don't really know anything about the gnomes right now, other than that they are adorable and we want to hug them.
Yes.
But yeah, who knows? Maybe come November we may actually get some more information as to what these things are.
And that may actually give us more information on what 6 is and what the Runaway Kid is. Because, as they get said, my main theory was because of how small you fucking are, you may actually be some kind of relation to the gnomes. So...
yeah. Yep, so I think really that's pretty much it at this point. So, like I said, hope you guys are enjoying Little Nightmares so far. We will be coming back to this in November when the second episode comes out. I will grab you again, of course, Kenshi.
Of course.
Alrighty, so with that said, see you guys in a couple of months.
Yeah.